From Renaissance Coliseum in Peoria, Illinois, it's the Bradley Basketball Pregame Show. Joey Wright alongside Larry Larson and Mitch Kaminski. And guys, here we are, counting you down to Bradley's game against Georgia Southern on Sunday. But first, we've got to paint the picture. Let's talk about Bradley's win against Division II Maryville the other day.
Joey, it was a really good win for the Braves, bottom line. They performed like you would expect them to perform against the Division II team. The ball was moving, 27 assists, 50 points in the paint, a lot of numbers that stood out in the box score. And they just played really well. They looked really cohesive as a team, and that's what you really want to see against an opponent like Maryville.
Yeah, especially against a team like Maryville, the score so much doesn't matter. I was looking for more of the style of play they went with, and I think it showed in this one. These past two games, they've outscored opponents 84-26 in the paint, which is very good for this Bradley team because they've kind of struggled at times shooting this year, and so when you're attacking the paint and scoring inside, that'll raise your shooting percentage, and that creates some more shots from inside out from three, and I think you saw that a lot this game. And the other thing that was nice was they were facing a zone defense, which you know, they haven't faced a whole lot of that this year, and there's going to be a couple teams in the Valley they play that use a zone defense. So I know Coach Wardle said after the game that it was nice to get some experience against that, and they unloaded the bench, so a lot of role guys got the minutes.
Exactly. It was, like I said, good team effort, and like you were talking about the points in the paint, Wardle's hammering that. That's the game plan is get the points in the paint, get the ball inside to Childs, Koch, or even Jashawn Henry. And another thing that they've really been doing well is moving the ball really well on the inside.
Yep.
So you see a lot of those passes down low around defenders, and it's pretty shifty. I mean, Darryl Brown even got in there down low and, you know, was distributing the ball to the bigger guys, and he had 9 assists.
Yeah.
So it was a really good team effort, and they're really working with the game plan.
The tempo was also excellent. They had 18 fast break points, which is great to see them stretching the floor and moving. And when you get a bunch of breakaway layups, you're getting a lot of free points, and that helps the shooting percentage as well.
Absolutely, and it was an emotional game on both sides because, Larry, it was the return to Peoria for Antoine Pittman, transferred from Bradley last year. He was a freshman. Now he's at Maryville, and that's always fun when you've got a player returning, even at the Division II level, a guy that can make an impact.
Yeah, a graduate transfer, played at Bradley for 3 years, and, you know, really good guy in the locker room. He was well-liked by his teammates, close with Elijah Childs, Darryl Brown, all those guys, and you know, it's just evident that they liked him and they miss having him around. So it was really cool to see that experience because it's not often that a player transfers from a D1 school to a D2 school and gets to play that D1 school again.
Yep.
So it was a really good experience, and what I really liked about that was the reception that he got from the crowd. A lot of, you know, we love you, Pitt, and a lot of, you know, just fun shouting at Antoine. It was all good and friendly. So it was just a really cool thing to see.
I totally agree. I think it was probably a little weird for him sitting on the opposite side of that Carver bench, but I think if you're the Braves, everything went according to plan. He got a really warm reception. I know, like you said, they really respected him in that locker room, and they came away with the win. So it was really a great overall homecoming for the Braves and seeing their old friend Pittman.
For sure.
Certainly helps when you can put the game away early, too. So
yeah.
Just keeps it fun, keeps it light.
Yeah.
Bradley taking care of business against Maryville. But against Georgia Southern, guys, this is going to be a compelling matchup for a couple of reasons. Georgia Southern, a winner last year in Georgia. How does Bradley respond this year? I know, obviously, two different teams, but a couple different ways this could play out.
Yeah, last year's game was just a really strange one, honestly. Looking at the box score, I was looking at it last night. The Braves were in foul trouble early on, and then the game went to overtime to make matters worse. So Darryl Brown fouled out in that game.
Yeah.
Not something you see often. That might have been the only time he fouled out last year, and I think that's one of the big reasons why they lost. He only played 29 minutes. D'Lo was in foul trouble as well, so you might consider that a lucky win for Georgia Southern last year, but that team has a lot of talent. They're one of the best teams in the Sun Belt. They finished second last year. And honestly, they're 6-3 this year. They played a close game with Auburn earlier in the year, so I wouldn't be shocked to see them come into Carver and give the Braves a good game. I don't know if it'll turn out similar to last year's result, but it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be one of the best on the non-conference slate for the Braves.
Oh, you hit it right on the head. I think this is going to be a very tough game for the Braves. Like you said, they played Auburn really tough, and they beat Radford, so their non-conference resume is pretty good. Ike Smith's going to be a problem for them. If the Braves want to win this one, they're going to have to slow him down. His last game against Carver, he made his first 4 shots, and all of them were three-pointers. So you definitely want to prevent him from shooting really well. This is another team that can play above the rim. If you watch the highlights from Carver, a lot of dunks, high-flying team. So it should be a very interesting matchup here for sure.
And I'm excited, guys, to see Bradley play off the home crowd once again because they've proven this season and in years past as well, of course, that they like playing at Carver. And coming off that tournament run from last year, Peoria faithful really coming out to Carver, supporting them well this season.
Yeah, it's really been impressive. The fans have been phenomenal this year. All the attendance pretty much above 5,000 with the exception of last game, which almost got there against a Division II team on a Tuesday night.
Yep.
So the crowds have been good. The student section's been really good this year, which, last year they didn't fill it many times, but it's been filled almost every game, and it makes a difference. It really does because the crowd's been loud. They've been into every game. They've been engaged, and 4 p.m. on Sunday, I think Carver's going to be pretty loud.
I would hope so for a weekend game. It should be a very good team, but the Braves have won 10 straight games at home. So, the crowd definitely makes a difference for them, and that's tied for the longest streak in the Valley with Drake. So, they got something good going there at Carver, and I would hope we get a good turnout for this one because it should be a great game.
Yep. Speaking of the Missouri Valley Conference, we'll have our MVC Pick'em coming up in just a moment. But while we're on the subject, guys, of the Georgia Southern game, I think it only makes sense to get into our picks to click. Who steps up for Bradley and makes an impact? Larry, we'll start with you.
Honestly, it's hard to pick big names for these things.
Yeah.
I don't like to, but I'm going to go Darryl Brown. He's been off the scoreboard in a big way, that is. He's been on the scoreboard when it comes to assists. He's been on the scoreboard in other ways other than scoring. But his scoring has been down a little bit, but I think he's going to have a big game against Georgia Southern. He's been off the scoreboard. He hasn't scored 20 points since earlier in the season, and honestly, I don't even know if he scored 20 points in a game this season. He's gotten close. But I think he's going to have a big game. He's due. And as we've talked about in pregame shows past, his shooting percentage hasn't been great this season. But like I said, he's had an effect in other ways. But I think he's going to really light up the scoreboard.
I'm going with another big name. I'm going with Elijah Childs for this one because I think this is one of their tougher non-conference games, and big-time players make big-time plays, and I think we could probably agree he's probably one of the most talented scorers on this team. He's been a little bit streaky this year with his scoring and performances, but as one of the best scorers on the team, I think he's going to come up big in this one, and we're going to be seeing a lot of him, especially down low in the paint, which Worrell's really been hammering scoring down there, and he's got that little hook shot down there, and he's got a big repertoire down inside the paint area that I think will be on display in this one.
Yeah, Childs has just been really good lately. I mean, he's led the team in scoring and rebounding for the last 3 games, I want to say. He's led the team in scoring. He's gotten up near that 20-point mark in a few consecutive games. So he's really finding his stroke, especially with the left-hand hook, and he's just been so phenomenal. And he stepped off the court as well, so that's big.
And just real quick to that point about Childs, I'll add, if other guys are down, see Darryl Brown at Memphis, he can step up and kind of fill that gap because he stepped up and had a big game against Memphis, led the team in scoring. He can kind of hide some errors elsewhere on the court if he has to.
Yeah, exactly, and that's just what a leader does. And he's clearly proved himself as a leader so far this season because he's that guy that you turn to when the team isn't making the buckets. We saw that a lot last year where Bradley would go off the scoreboard for minutes at a time.
Long
5
stretches,
minutes.
yeah.
It was tough, but this year we haven't seen that. And you got to hand it to the seniors and you got to hand it to Elijah Childs because they've been the guys that you go to make those buckets. And we haven't seen those long stretches without buckets, which is really promising.
Consistency is going to be the key with him. If he can put this together for long stretches, which he has, the past 3 games, like you said, he's been putting together pretty good performances, but if he can consistently do that, this team's going to be very dangerous going down the road.
Absolutely, guys. And now let's get into our Missouri Valley Conference Pick'em. Couple of interesting games to look at this week. Let's start with Drake and Dayton. Game that could go either way. I've got to go with Dayton in this one, though.
Honestly, I don't think Drake stands a chance against Dayton. Looking at their season box score, the Flyers have shot 40% from 3 this season. 40% from 3. Now, you got to figure that's not going to last the whole season, but that's so good, man.
That's excellent.
And they're top 15 in the country. Drake hasn't been super impressive. They haven't played a lot of good teams. This is going to be one of their first really good games of the season. So it's really hard for me to pick Drake. Other than the Murphy twins, they're still looking for a few guys to step up. It's going to be really tough for them to hold against Dayton. I think the Flyers take it easily.
I'm going to agree with you on that one. Going along with the three-point shooting, they shot 48% against Kansas and Virginia Tech in their mid-season tournament, which is Those teams are no slouches. Those are two very good teams. Like you said, they're ranked, and as we know in college basketball, a non-ranked team never beats a ranked team. So Obi Toppin, he could get drafted for Dayton. He's a beast in the paint. I'm also going to have to go with the Flyers to win handily in this one.
Exactly, and it's not just their three-point shooting. As you mentioned, Toppin, they can work the ball inside as well, and that's what makes them so dangerous is they can get you from anywhere on the floor, and it's going to be a really tough game for Drake.
Consensus Dayton moving to Southern Illinois and VCU. Who we got?
Missouri State.
Missouri State and I'm always off on at least one of these games. I apologize. But Missouri State and VCU, I've got to go with VCU in this one.
You know, Joey, I'm also going to go VCU, and I'll tell you why. I got to reference our good friend John Rothstein on this one.
Of course.
A game at the Siegel Center. A home game at the Siegel Center for VCU is more life-altering than a 10-day trip to Europe. It's a tough place to play, and it's really hard to win on the road there. Missouri State has struggled against good teams. I think they're going to come into this game hungry. They've played a lot of big names on their schedule, but they're only 6-5, and they've yet to beat one of those really good teams. I think it's going to be close, but I think due to the home court advantage at the Siegel Center, VCU takes it.
I'm also going VCU. If you look at their schedule, they only have 2 losses this year, and it was to Purdue and Tennessee, who is ranked number 19. Both of those are really good losses, and they lost those games by a combined 6 points. So very close games. They've been in every game they've played this year, and I think they're going to run away with this one. The home court is going to be a big advantage. Missouri State, this would be a nice resume booster for them because they could use a confidence-boosting win, but I don't think they'll get it here.
Consensus VCU, and then our final game, Illinois State and Northern Kentucky, the Redbirds and the Norse. I'll give the Missouri Valley Conference a bone here. I'll go with Illinois State.
Yeah, I'm also going to give the Redbirds the nod here. Northern Kentucky, good basketball team. This is going to be a good challenge for both teams, especially for the Redbirds going on the road. This is a good game for Dan Muller and company, having to travel on the road right before conference play. Should be a good test. Redbirds hovering around 500 right now, so I think they want to pick up another win and head into conference with momentum. It's going to be a big game, and I think the Redbirds come out with it.
I'm going Northern Kentucky here. They got Dantez Walton, who has won 3 straight Nike Horizon Valley or Player of the Week awards, which is pretty impressive. He's averaging 25 points a game. And Illinois State, they haven't been very, consistent this year.
Not at all.
They've failed to close out some close games. They got bullied by TCU and Western Kentucky, I believe it was. So they've just been kind of all over the map. I'm looking for a little bit more consistency out of them, so I'm going to go Northern Kentucky to win this one.
So not quite consensus Illinois State. The first dissenter, Mitch Kaminski. Guys, not a ton of time left, but any final thoughts as we approach tip-off?
I think it's going to be a really good game for Bradley and Georgia Southern. Like we saw last year, a game that went to overtime. I'm really excited to watch this one. I'm not going to make any predictions, but I like Bradley's chances here. I think they've got a really good shot to pick up a really solid win at home. And like we've seen all throughout this non-conference slate, this is also a team that we could possibly see in March winning that automatic bid out of the Sun Belt Conference. So Georgia Southern, good players, good team, and it's going to be a good challenge.
I'm looking for the style of play again. Obviously, I liked it a lot against Maryville, but let's see if they can impose their will on Georgia Southern because it's not some cupcake they're playing, and no offense to Maryville, but Georgia Southern's going to be a good team. So if they can continue that style of scoring in the paint, some fast break points, and then the shooting will come from the outplay inside out, that would be very nice to see in this one. It'll be a good test, but I think they're a lot better than they were at this point of the season last year when they played Georgia Southern. So I like their chances in this one.
Yeah, one more thing. Nate Cannell's got to make some threes because in every Bradley win, he's made, I want to say, at least 2 threes, or he's made a 3. So whenever he scores X amount of points, Bradley is 7-0. So he's got to score, and I'd say he's that, I don't know, that marker for the team. If he's down, everybody else seems down. If he's up, everybody else is up. So it's just one of those weird things. I don't think it's a coincidence, though. I really don't, because he's one of the senior leaders on the team. And if he's hot, everybody else seems to, catch that. It's contagious.
Well, being one of the best shooters on the team, a lot of shooting does come with him. If you're getting some scoring from outside, it's usually from Nate Cannell. So I would agree with that.
The Metamora Redbird, Nate Cannell. So, guys, that'll do it for us on the Bradley Basketball pregame show for Mitch Kaminski and Larry Larson. I'm Joey Wright. Let's see how it all plays out. Bradley and Georgia Southern just moments away at Carver Arena.